Hey everyone, it's Krista here with Blooms and Brushstrokes, and welcome to my channel. Special hello to any new followers and subscribers, and a welcome back to everybody that's been following along already. Today I just plan to do a fun little exercise with you guys. Kind of what I do when I'm just practicing, when I'm not doing a video. I am just loosely painting and then like using my pen and my ink to create flowers. I'll just kind of show you guys here. So I have these pages and it's just kind of not very great quality paper. And I just play around on them with color, and I just try new shapes and I try new designs and whatever else. So I just kind of wanted to do a little bit of that with you guys today. Oh my gosh, the cat, he stepped on my page that I had down here. Of course, text. Well, we're going to have a little footprint in there, I think. That's okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to play around with a couple different shapes with you guys and just show you how easy it truly is to just put down some dots and create a flower out of some abstract shapes. So, you know, in order to do that, I like to kind of have an idea of what shape I want the flower to be. So if I want it to be, you know, kind of opening to the side, or if I want it to be kind of a side profile, or if I want to be looking dead on it, I usually have a general idea of what I want with that. And then if I want it to be, you know, something like a daisy or a shape of a carnation or whatever. I just have a general idea. I don't have necessarily a solid structure. Usually when I'm practicing like that, I just kind of play around a little bit and just work with different shapes and stuff. So I've just posted a short on a, this kind of like a whimsical little flower that's opening to the side. And I thought, you know what, that one's kind of a fun one because you can just play around with the paint, and if you add the detail with the ink, it looks great. If you don't add the detail with the ink, it looks great as well. So if you're somebody that doesn't like the ink afterwards, then this is awesome. This is awesome for you guys as well. So I think it's kind of this one down here. If you guys can see, we're going to kind of work on something like that just for fun. And if we have enough time, we'll do maybe one other one. But I want these to kind of be quick, little, fun, short tutorials so that you guys can just get into the paint and just have fun with it and just play around a little bit. So that's what we're going to work on today. So if you guys want to get all your supplies, I'm using the Yarka St. Petersburg paints. I'll be using predominantly my number 10 Aqua Elite round brush, my 10-0 Princeton Aqua Elite Princeton liner brush. I might use this number 4 Aqua Elite Princeton round brush. I do want to get some new brushes, but I am waiting until I go to Bangkok, and I'm going to, or to Thailand, sorry, and I'm going to try to get some bamboo brushes there. And if you guys can hear something rattling around in the background, that's my cat Texas. He is playing with a spring right now, and he's entertained for the time being, but you might be able to hear him in the background. So my apologies. It's better him down there than up here. Anyways, so I'll probably be just using these brushes for this specific flower. And then I will use, oh, I did show this in the last video. So it's the CSY Art Gallery mini tin box of handmade metallic watercolors. Now they're not kind of they weren't really what I was hoping for, but for the price of them, they were, like, they're decent. I'm not going to complain about them. They kind of have there's lots of different little sets. So it's just a little trial. I thought, why not give it a shot? So I'll use that. I'm going to use this Winsor Newton gold metallic ink, our Micron Archival Ink Pen, not that one. I want the 01 pen. I just got to make sure that yep, this is the one. I got some I need to get rid of and I haven't yet. So anyways, I'm going to use that. And otherwise, I sprayed my watercolors down, but I'll give them another shot here. just to get them activated, I've taped my page down with just some white masking tape. I got this off Amazon, and I'm using a piece of watercolor paper out of this Canson book. So it's decent for what we're doing. It's kind of it's just kind of fun. You can play around with it. So, and not to feel too bad if you have a mix up or whatever. So we're going to use that. Typically I would say if you're going to paint the whole entire page, do a wash of clear water over top of it first, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to do the flower with you guys, and yeah, so get all your things together and let's get painting. All right, you guys, we are all set up here to do our flower. So we're gonna use similar colors as we used in the short, so as I really love them and I love how it turned out, but maybe a little variation just because I don't love doing everything in the same color. But we're gonna do some burnt sienna, some red ochre, and some of the rose, and perhaps we might put a little bit of brown in it. So we're gonna use that for the flower to start with. Okay, so just gonna grab this little demo. I mean, it's not gonna be exactly the same every single time, but as you can see here, we're gonna work on something similar to that shape there. We've got just played with variations and different amounts of water. And so we're gonna work on this one here and something similar to that. Whoopsie daisy. So we have an idea of what we're working with. So this is kind of a little bit different because there is no pre-drawn out flower. However, no sweat. We're just going to play around with it. And if it doesn't look exactly the same, that's totally fine. I just want you guys to kind of get the feeling of just painting and going with the flow. So I'm going to start by putting down a few dots of color. One, we're starting with that burnt sienna. So I'm getting lots of water and lots of paint on my paintbrush. We're going to go on over here and we're going to put down a few good dots of that. And then we're going to go in with the red ochre, which is beside it on the Yarka St. Petersburg. And we're just going to drop a few of those down. And we're going to go in with the rose. And we're going to drop a few of those down. Okay, clean off your brush entirely and get quite a bit of water on it, but clean some of that water off. You don't want it to be super, super wet, but just wet enough. I know it's a fine balance of figuring out exactly how much to use. So we're gonna start off by going over here with no text, a big, huge petal. We're gonna take a little bit of that color and that water from nobody. And we're gonna go right beside it and put another one. And we're going to go beside that one and put another one. So we're swooping up and just letting it be organic. To the side here, we're going to go with a little, just a thin little petal. And over this way, we're going to go with another one. We're getting a little bit more of this color. And we're going to do a little, kind of a couple down here, and then another big one kind of swooping down. So now that we've got kind of our base petals in there, we can go and add some of the little tiny bits of line work. So we're going to just do a couple that come up this way. Just a few little lines to add some little bit of detail, and you can use the pink, you can use the whatever color you need to get in there. We're just going to add a little bit of that. I'm loving how that's looking already, you guys. I think that looks beautiful. So if we want to have a little bit more of a deeper kind of look to part of a petal or whatever, we can go and add a little bit more in there. and let that flow kind of around and let that just add a bit more depth into this flower. Now you don't want to overdo it, and that's when this can kind of get crazy, is if you kind of go in and add too much, it can get too much fairly quickly. So we're just going to probably work with that, what we've got in there now. And I like the idea of having quite a bit down in here, because this is kind of where everything will kind of come from. So it's nice to have some depth in that area. And I think that looks pretty good, you guys. I think I'm going to take a little bit of that pink and I'm going to mix it with the burnt sienna. And I'm just going to kind of go in and add a little bit more line work in there. And that's just going to add a bit more detail. Oh, I got lots of color on my brush. I think that looks great, you guys. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. You know, you don't want to add too much because it can get really crazy really fast, but you can see that beautiful flower shape in there already. So now we're going to work on the stem part. So we're going to get some of the greens going on, and we're going to work with some of the olive green, Russian green, and maybe a little bit of the sepia or raw umber for some brown. So kind of the same idea. I like to just go and I'm going to use actually olive green to start. So we're going to dab a few dots of olive green down, a few dots of the Russian green. Clean your brush off, quite a bit of water on there yet. And then we're just going to go at a nice swoopy line. And then what I like to do, because at the base of a flower, there's always usually green kind of holding it in place. And so I kind of will go around and just add a bit more of that to the sides there. Which I think looks really great just like that. Again, it's going to feel crazy. Like you're going to think, oh, I should be adding some more, but you don't want to overwork it. So, you know, we can go and add a teeny bit of that darker Russian green in there just for some extra detail. And, you know, I want to keep it simple, but what you could do as well is add a little one on this side, to like a little flower on this side as well, and have it kind of coming over. Dare we do that? Let's have fun. So let's have fun. Let's just do a little guy over here. So perhaps it's just maybe starting to open up, a bud that's starting to open up. We'll kind of think about that in the shape that we're going to do. So we're only going to put a couple little dots down. So, okay, so we have, let's say, or one kind of like so. And then we're going to have one kind of coming off the side as it's opening up. And just maybe a little off like that. Ah, perfect. I think that's enough. And we just got that little one there kind of opening up on the side. Looks great. Same thing we can do for the stem on this one. You know, drop a couple of the Russian greens down, drop a couple of the olive greens down. It's all good if it bleeds together. Clean your brush off. Oops, a little wet. And we can have it come right down with it. So it kind of got a little bit big over there, but that's okay. It's no sweat. We can just have a couple flowers there. Kind of like, it's a little thick in this part, but no biggie. Anyways, I think that looks really good as well. We can go and add just a teeny little bit of that, pink in there. We can add a little bit more of this down in here. Okay, and then as far as the green goes, I'm going to use a little bit of the, and we're just going to kind of have that come like so, off to the sides. Maybe go and put in a little bit of that olive green because it's so good. Wonderful. I think that looks really, really great, you guys. So we're going to let that dry up a teeny little bit, not totally, but a little bit, because we want to go in and we want to add our stamen coming up, which is the part of the flower that gets pollinated up in here. So I want to do that. One thing you can do is you can go and add a little bit more depth by just dropping dots of a color in there that your flowers already got going on. So this is the raw sienna. I think that's what I'm using. Yeah, the raw sienna. So you can just go and plop a little bit of that in there. Even in this area, we want it to be a little bit deeper. We can go and add a little bit of that in there. I think it's dry enough to go add our, I'm actually going to grab my #1 script here as well. My script brush, and I'm going to do the stamens with that. So we're going to do the stamen coming out from here. Just like so. There's a little bit of bleeding going on there, and that's totally fine. There was a bit of water still happening there, and we're just going to put the little ends on that. I think that looks perfect. No, buddy, that's my paintbrush. Okay. So that looks really great. Now we're going to go in and do our leaves. Oopsie, I just bumped us. So we're going to add some leaves down here. The leaves are just going to be kind of long and flowy. So we're going to start with this one that's coming over the top now. And we're just going to put a little bit of that olive green down, a little bit of that Russian green. We're going to take our brush and we're just going to go up and pull it down. Just so up and then kind of come down like so. And then on our other flower back here, our other stem, we can go in with a Russian green, olive green, clean off your brush, and bring up that in whichever direction you want it to go. Like so. Those look pretty great. You can always add more greenery if you like, but I think we're going to keep it at that to keep it simple. I'm loving the look of that. I like the idea of there looking like some dots in this area as well, just because usually typically inside of a flower there kind of can be, so I'll just throw a couple of those in there. All right, you guys, so we're going to let that totally dry up. And then we're going to work it with a little bit of our gold metallic ink. We can actually even use a little bit of this metallic on it right. Well, let's go for it right now. So one thing I have realized with these metallic inks or paints is that you need to they can't be too wet, otherwise it loses its depth, I would say, or its saturation. You know, so obviously the more water, the less saturated. So we want to get this, not too much water. We don't want it to be too, we want it to be quite concentrated. So we don't want too much water to dilute it. So, you know, if you wanted to add a little bit of this, say kind of coming on this one here. Okay, that's good. But I want to soften that edge. So I'm just going to come in right away and soften the edge. This is just adding a little bit of detail with some of that metallic. You know, you don't want to do too much, but okay, maybe we want to do a little bit over here. Okay. Add a little bit over there. If it's not your jam, don't do it. It's just a fun little exercise, you know, like maybe I wouldn't do this on the next one I did, but how do you know if you don't try, right? And so that's kind of what this is all about, just to have some fun. Okay, so maybe I want to just do a little bit of that metallic coming up this line. That's probably good for that. Okay, maybe down here we could just add a little bit, maybe on this one. I don't want to overdo it because we are still going to use our gold metallic ink, but it's kind of fun to play around with things that you get that are new. So just go in like that. Just like so. Okay, groovy. Well, we're going to let that dry. We're going to get out our metallic Winsor and Newton gold ink. Shake it up really, really good. As you know, this stuff settles like crazy. And this is just going to add some soft detail. Again, not necessary. If you don't like the gold, don't do it. If you like how this just looks as it is, just let it be so. Okay. I'm going to use, actually I'm going to use my 10-0 liner. It just adds that real soft line and doesn't get too intense. So, you know, where you think a petal would be, and I'm just not going to outline everything, I'm just going to add some highlighting. So right, for instance, here, I'm going to add a little highlight to that, and that's probably enough for that. And then go over to this one. Okay, well, we've got a little bit of that metallic from the watercolor paint, so I think I'll just do a little softness on this one. Nope, nope, nope. Texas, no. No. Back her up. And we're just going to go up on this side here. And maybe we'll do like a teeny little bit over this way. Just to add a teeny little bit of that detail. Awesome. I really love how that looks. So again, you could leave it at this. Maybe I'll add just a bit actually. Just a little detail on the stem and on the leaves. But it doesn't need to be crazy. We can still use our black Micron pen, or you don't have to if you don't want to, but it's kind of my thing. I could not use it and then have watercolors just like everybody else does, or I could use it and kind of have my own style. So I think I'm going to stick with that. All right, those look really pretty. Now we actually have to let this totally dry up, and then, well, actually we can start with the stem. But there's a lot of color in there, so that has to dry up before we go in. So we'll start with the stem and the leaves down here. Well, let's just start with this leaf that's kind of on the front. So we're going to go very gently and light with this. We don't want it to be too intense. Same with this one over here. Just gentle. Don't push too hard down. And then we're going to go with this stem that's coming over top. Just like that. So there's a little bit of that ink in there, but it's not taking over the picture, which sometimes I do that. So I'm going to try to work around what we've got going on in here. But if yours is not dry at all, just don't go in with the ink, the black ink yet. Perfect. I love how that looks. So we'll have to do the little stamens here. Gently going over them as well. I think that looks really pretty, you guys. Let me know what you think. And so for the last little bit of detail, as you always know, I like to take that gold ink and splatter it in the center there. But because it is just still so wet, I'm going to hold off on that. But that's typically how I like to finish my painting. And I think that's a perfect amount of line work with the black Micron pen. In fact, I really like this one that's just opening up. It's quite cute. So hold tight, let it dry, and then we'll splatter some gold on there, and that'll be it. So that's just kind of a fun exercise you can do just to play around with the colors. So just, you know, have some fun, play around, don't take it too seriously, play with the different amounts of paint, the like higher concentration of paint, lesser. It's just fun to do that, as I've shown you guys on this thing. Just playing around with all kinds of different amounts of ink, or sorry, paint and ink as well. So just have some fun with that, and then I'll finish this off in just a second here, and then that'll do it for this quick little tutorial, you guys. Let me know what you think. We're all dried up here for the most part. So now we're going to get in with our gold ink and do a couple splatters in the middle, because that's what I love to do. But you got to stir up your gold ink a lot because it settles, or shake it up again. It settles so badly. Okay, so I like to get quite a bit, and I like to do quite a bit in the center, as you all know. I think it's the look of it looking like pollen or something. Like, I really love that kind of look, and kind of makes it look a little messy, but. And that's going to do it for that one. So, yeah, fun times. I always just put my initial on the bottom of every single one because I never know what I'm going to do with it. But that's it, you guys. Just like that, we have our little fun practice flower there. So I hope you guys enjoyed that quick little tutorial. Oops. Again, something like that you can just go and play around with different brush strokes and different colors to see what you come up with. So you can and do different layers if you want to, or just, yeah, keep it easy and one pass over, whatever you prefer. So that's going to do it for that. If you guys like the tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. So that is going to do it for that tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's just something fun to practice. I've had so much time on the weekends that I've just literally been practicing and playing around and practicing some more, and I've been really enjoying it. So I wanted to share that with you guys so that you could do the same when you have some downtime. So I hope you liked it. Again, if you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please give me a subscribe. Oh my gosh, you guys. I forgot to mention at the very beginning, I finally hit 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for that. This week I think I would have hit it on one of the shorts that I posted. So thank you so much for being a part of the Blooms and Brush Strokes YouTube channel. It is so much fun for me to do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really means a lot to me. So we'll check you guys in the next video.